A large portion of my creative life is characterized by being in a rush. There are other periods of time that are not at all. And those periods of time are some of the most productive ones, oddly enough. But if you dig deeper into it, it starts to make sense. When you're rushing to do something, you pay less attention to the details, you hurry, you make mistakes, and then those mistakes slow you down the road. You're less observant and you learn less as a result. I've touched on this topic before, but I feel that recently I've made new strides in this particular thing. And so I want to talk about it again and present a slightly fresher perspective on learning, slowing down, and rushing. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and as always, thank you for joining me. How different is your experience of a beautiful, incredible sounding game in the first hour of playing it and the fifth hour of playing it? How much of your experience remains interesting and how much of it fades into the background? I've noticed this a lot recently in life in general, but I got thinking about it because of Crimson Desert. I played a bit of Crimson Desert and I went, my God, this is a beautiful game. And then I fixed a few settings and I went, my God, this is a beautiful game. And cool. But I have a feeling that if I played it for, 4 or 5 hours, by the end of that, I'm going, whatever. Okay. Yeah, whatever. It's pretty. It's nice. It looks good, but nothing is fresh. Nothing is new. Darktide, similar effect. Darktide, very cool game. Very nice aesthetic. Very exciting. When I am playing, when I am shooting things, when I am hitting things, I'm not really absorbing the visuals. When I'm watching somebody else play, then I can absorb all the visuals and I notice their gameplay and I notice everything that they're doing. I'm very attuned to it. So if my character is dead, which happens all the time because I'm very bad at shooters, then I'm watching from a first person perspective somebody else's gameplay and I can appreciate how beautiful the game is and how cool and interesting and dark and gross it is. All because I'm not thinking about my own gameplay. I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not dodging around. I'm not trying to survive. Now, how does this relate to what I was talking about? I think there's a perceptual shift that happens. There's a focal shift. There's a amount of focus that shifts into my own head, maybe into your own head when you're playing a game. When you first experience the game, you perceive everything and you're trying to find what to focus in on. And eventually, for me, I start focusing in on game mechanics and what I'm doing with my character and how I can progress. I'm not focused on the world around me. I'm not focused on the beautiful audio. I'm not really focused on the experience. To be honest, I'm just looking at what my next goal is, how I'm going to accomplish it. What's the next quest? How am I going to get there? What am I going to do grinding wise? So on and so on. And yes, it's kind of immersive in that way, but I would love to pay a little more attention to the trees. I'd love to stop and smell the roses. I think that is not just a way to enjoy the game, that is a way to learn about it more. That is a way to notice the things you wouldn't have otherwise noticed and get more pieces of the puzzle so that you can get some insight into what is and isn't fun or productive or interesting and what you want to explore. You develop these blind spots very quickly in games. And this is tightly related to developing skills. But you develop these blind spots, and then if you don't take a moment and pull yourself out of them, a game can become just a mental exercise. It can fully be you in your own head navigating certain ideas and concepts and strategies. And I think this is part of why I'm not very good at video games. to be honest. Most of the games that I play, I'm never like good at them, right? I get to a certain point sometimes, but I never, I don't think I ever pay full attention to the game. I think I get wrapped up in my own head and in some goal or in some little detail. And I think if you play the game for its sake, if you notice the game as you are playing it, if you notice what changes when you do a jump differently, what changes when you do this or that differently, these little experiments, not in a cognitive way, but in a visceral way, in an emotional way, in a felt way. Those are the times that I think you really learn. When you lock in and observe and absorb. I don't think that you have to think about it as much as I do. And maybe this is a lot easier for some of you. I don't know. I think this might be a quirk of my personal psychology, or this might be a common flaw of gaming, a common thing that we fall into. But I think about when I played games as a kid. It was a very different experience. It was much more, maybe visceral is not the word for it, but much more driven by the senses, right? Much more driven by vision and audio and dealing with the controller and understanding what the game is doing or what's going on with it. And I want to tune into that a little bit more when I'm gaming, partially because I was so inspired by designing games to pay that. Sorry, that's the name of a book. So inspired by the book Designing Games to pay more attention to the emotional impact of games, not just the big broad strokes. Oh, that's sad. Oh, that makes me angry. Oh, that's stressful. But the little tiny emotions that you feel, that little nagging feeling in the back of your head that goes, that's a little annoying, or, oh, that's a little bit positive, or, oh, that might be good. That has made me go, maybe I should be paying a little more attention to everything in the game. Maybe I should be noticing these other details because they might be having an impact on me too. It also helps that I've just recently discovered that I am deep in my own head. I'm lost in thought very frequently, and I would like to be a little bit more connected to the external world. And I wonder, okay, this is a tangent, but I wonder if that is a common thing with people who play video games. I wonder if there's something about games that leads you deeper into your head versus deeper into the external world. Then again, I think about shooters and I go, well, that seems very external. Shooters seem extremely pay attention to the world around you. Games that I grew up playing involved a lot of character building, theory crafting, right? You're playing Morrowind, you're playing Warcraft 3, which is strategic, but also pay attention to what's going on. So that's an interesting case. Diablo 2, a little bit more theory crafting, but there are those moments of pay close attention. But there's a moment in a game where you go, okay, I recognize all these patterns, and I'm just going to act according to all these patterns. And I think it's hard to break from that. Here's the most impactful thing that I can relate to you on this, or I can hope that you will relate to. Have you ever just been going about your daily life and then suddenly you pay extra attention to something outside of you? You go, oh, that's an extremely interesting bug. Oh, what a beautiful deer that just walked by. You just notice every detail of this thing. For me, recently it's been trees. I'm walking around and I'm looking at the leaves of trees and I'm going, every one of these trees is a different shade of green. Completely different, to the point of being different colors, basically. I'm going, how have I not paid attention to this at all? And I go, man, I must be lost in my head all the time. I love trees. They're all over the place. They're beautiful. I'm looking at them. They've got all these different, just everything about them is completely different. Each individual one has its own traits and qualities. And I'm going, okay, maybe I should get out of my head a little bit more. And then it'll click. It'll connect. And maybe I'm painting with very broad strokes, but I think that this can increase the enjoyment of a video game. I think getting out of all the theory crafting and clicking into it I don't know how to say this other than to shift your focus, to gently shift your focus away from the theory crafting in your head into just observation of the game and enjoyment of the game and noticing of the game. And then let the crafting be in a separate place. Let the what would happen if this, let the experimentation, all that stuff, let it be a different time and place. And then you go into the game, that's in the back of your head, and then you just pay extra attention to what is going on. I know that's a little odd, a little difficult to communicate maybe, but playing with different regions of focus while gaming, I think, could be a very interesting and thought-provoking exercise. At least for me. Maybe this isn't something that you would get that much benefit from. I don't know. I don't know your life. But I thought it was an interesting thought that you might enjoy. Now let's talk about game development. I have much more definite and clear ideas about how this affects my game development. There is a type of mental fixation that happens on game development. There's a focus that occurs that I think can be pretty much just dodged. Pretty much just, okay, let's not worry about that. Let's not focus on that. Let's shift our focus somewhere else. And that is anything to do with, will this game be successful? Will this game be good? What will the finished product of this game be? All of those thoughts, not the design perspective version of those thoughts, but the how successful will it be? Will people like it? Will it be this, that, the other? Are they going to be not the clear vision of I want to make this specific game and it's going to be cool and I'm excited and all that. No, the I want to be successful. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to make money off of this. I want to develop this skill. I want whatever. Instead, I'm going to attempt to, anytime that sort of focus pops up, shift focus towards what elements of design are interacting here right now. What element of this design is getting in my way from making this a game that I would enjoy that matches the goals for this particular game design, the emotional goals. So I'm very focused on emotional goals right now. I want a game to have a specific emotional experience that it is evoking. And that has focused me in so much just from reading the first 20 pages of designing games. It's really focused me in. I abandoned some other projects and all this stuff and just went, I'm going to play with this idea. I'm going to work on something that has a specific emotional goal. And then in doing that, it has focused my design. Instead of looking around at a million different ideas, instead of going, it would be really cool if I had a crafting system, instead I'm going, what is going to improve the expression of this particular emotional goal? What is going to make it more likely that the player has some tension and release within this particular emotional experience? What experience is the crafting going to give them? Does that contribute to what I want this game to do? Obviously, you can't control the exact experience that any one person is going to have with your game, but broad strokes, I'm trying to say make something a little bit stressful, a little bit scary, a little bit not in the jump scare kind of scary, a little bit like there are high stakes kind of scary. I'm trying to make something like that. And then I was looking at it and I was going, okay, I've got this design for these enemies approaching, and there's a gap in time between the enemies approaching. And right now each enemy gets one attack, teleports away from you, and then the next one comes up and they teleport away from you. And the way that it's laid out, the faster enemies aren't going to be able to quickly get past the slower enemies. So you're going to have this thing where there's just a slow guy and a line of enemies. Okay, I don't want to design around, I kind of have one lane of combat. I don't want to design around let me paint the picture for a moment. You are a character standing in a specific location. You cannot move forward, side to side, whatever. And you just have a row of enemies coming at you. You have to deal with that. Very simple. This is not something I'm trying to release. This is something I'm trying to design to practice design skills. Initially, I had a design. I drafted it. I gave a swing at it, and I went, okay, that's not bad, right? I've got enemies coming at me. It's kind of pushing my character towards death. That's cool, right? Okay. There can be some tension there. We can put a health bar. We can make this more intense. Great. Not that good, but maybe we can change the health bar to something else. Maybe we can make that just a little bit more of a visual, sensual sense, like coming from the senses, not sensual. Something that you sense the danger more viscerally than just a health bar. Or maybe we can make the health bar particularly impactful somehow. You got your screen shake, you got whatever juice you're adding to the game. You make your enemies look intimidating. You add some kind of a more on the edge of your seat sort of combat to it. But right now it's just, okay, button prompts. Guy approaches you. You have a certain amount of time to counter or hit them before they hit you. Cool. Now, sorry, I've gotten distracted by game design ideas. Now, let's say you've got this line of enemies coming at you. Some of them are faster, some of them are slower. Well, now we have a design problem. The faster ones need to either get past the slower ones so that they can attack you, or we need to just like have them all be in a line. Because currently, what happens if they're all in a line is if there's a slow guy at the front of the line, you're now waiting. You just have this gap where you're waiting for them to approach you. Player has nothing to do. There's no tension. You just go, okay, I'm not that worried about this. Or maybe you can build up a slow sense of dread because the slow guy is particularly dangerous. But one way or another, I don't like that gap. There's something about that gap that I don't like. I want there to be a constant action. There is a enemy attacking you at all times, and if you mess up the slightest bit, this is the other thing that helps the emotional impact in my mind. If you mess up the slightest bit while fighting off one of these enemies, you might die. You are extremely close to death. Any one mistake could kill you. The more mistakes you make, the more likely you are to just instantly die. I want any mistake to be high stakes. I want a single misinput to potentially kill you. It probably won't, but I want there to be real odds of that. There's an issue, I think, in combat in games, which is there's never really tension. There's always like this sense of, I have enough health to tank a couple hits. And then your health gets low enough and you go, oh, not anymore. And some games design around this really, really well, where there's a one-hit kill move that you have time to notice. And if you can get out of the way in time, you're fine. But it's real hard to get out of the way in time, bud. Right? Sometimes there's enemies that, turn it into a resource battle. They pull your health down. You got to get your health back up or take care of all these enemies before they completely knock you out. The particular angle that I'm going for adding tension to a health bar is ensuring that at any moment a single mistake can kill you. Because this is a very small game. It's just a little experimental project, and I just want it to be you're trying to hit the right inputs and block and defend and so on, and if somebody hits you, you might die. You are, okay, I'll tell you the full scope. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, and you're trying to not get pushed off the cliff. So the idea is, if somebody hits you, you could fall off the cliff. You could lose your balance. Something could happen. There's at least a chance, even if it's a tiny, tiny little hit, that you're done, right? Maybe you get one free hit for the whole game, and then you have however many times you get hit. Your chance of survival goes lower with each time that you get hit. You've been hit 3 times, 70% chance that you're falling down if you get hit again. Oh, you've been hit 5 times. You got about a 25% chance. I'm sorry, I may have mixed up my numbers a second ago. 70% chance of survival after you get hit a couple times. on the next hit, and now let's go down to a 25% chance of survival. You might get to a point in a run now where you have a 5% chance of surviving, and you hit that 5% chance, and you go, oh my God, I can't believe I survived that, right? There's that little random chance in there. That's kind of fun. That's the theory, at least. So I'm going to try that out. I'm going to make that particular emotional experience. And the idea is, sorry, initially I was talking about something else, but I got excited about this game design. The idea that I want to come back to here is I got here by focusing on the game design itself. I got here by looking at the game design and saying, what am I attending to? What am I focusing on? I'm not just focused on, I want to make a good game. I'm not just focused on, I want to make a successful game. I'm not just focused on, I want to learn these many skills and this and that and the other. No, I'm looking at it and I'm going, what's the fun thing for me to do? The fun thing for me to do is to make a game that is small and has emotional stakes. And that's the skill that I'm working on, is setting up these emotional stakes. And I think that's a nice foundational skill. And from there, I can build on top of it, and I can pay a little more attention to the game itself, not the weird meta goal. It doesn't, this is a rough one to express. The player does not care if you, while making the game, were paying attention to, on a meta level, is this game going to be good and successful? Now, if other focuses were used in order to make the game good and successful, great. But just thinking, I want to make a good, successful game does not make a good, successful game. Going from I want to make a good, successful game to I want to make a game that fits these particular criteria. I want to make a game that is designed to have an impact in this way. I want to make this kind of game. That's what's going to give results that the player is going to feel. Players want to play good games, yes, but they don't. This is going to be hard to stand by, but I'm going to try to. I don't think players want games made by developers whose primary goal was make a, quote, good, successful game. I think that if developers' primary goal is to make a good, successful game, and they don't have a better vision than that, and they don't have a better focus, and they're not paying more attention than that idea, the game is going to be trash. And I think that a good, successful game can be a guidepost for different things, right? That can be a guidepost for marketing. That can be a guidepost for what genre you choose to create, or some other elements, or art direction, or whatever, if you're looking at successful. But I really think that it's more beneficial, as a developer anyway, forget the whole success thing, it's more beneficial for your enjoyment of the hobby or profession, wherever you're at, for us to, let me speak for myself. For me, it is more beneficial for me to focus in on creating a specific experience and exploring how to make that experience, and exploring what makes that enjoyable, and exploring what it is about that experience that I really want to refine, what specific emotional sequence of events I'm trying to create in a player. I think that is much more interesting, much more fulfilling, much more fun hobby, much more just compelling experience as a designer than going, what are they gonna like? Are people gonna like this? Are people gonna like that? It'd be cool to add a crafting system. It'd be cool to add this. I want to just create the entire world in a game. Let me just add every single thing that I can think of. To what end? Why? It doesn't need everything. This, I think, is part of the whole scope creep thing. Does the thing you're adding to the game genuinely improve the emotional experience of the game? Does it genuinely make the player go, oh, that was interesting? Or, I didn't like that. That was a little bit, that kind of poked me in the heart a little bit, but not at the level where they even notice it. Just like a little jab, and then you do a few more of those across the span of like an hour and a half of gameplay, and then you hit them with the one big gut punch, and suddenly they're crying. Right? I like that version of game design. That's more of a narrative one, the one I just presented, but you could do that through whatever. Anyway, you could do that through a lot of different means. It doesn't necessarily have to just be storytelling. It can be visual, it can be audio, it can be relatively random events, although then you're working with procedural generation and trying to control that, which is kind of against the whole point of like keeping things somewhat random. I'm getting sidetracked. The point that I'm making, I think, has been fully made. I think that it is important to have a clear design goal that is not just, I want to make a fun game and these ideas are kind of cool and maybe I can throw these ideas together and it'll be good. And this is all just set off by friggin' 20 pages of a game design book and yeah. And a little bit more external focus in my life. So imagine what's going to happen when I read the next 20 pages. I think this book opened just absolute. It was just a banger right when it opened. I read those pages like 2 weeks ago, and I've just been figuring out what to do with it for like 2 weeks. Maybe it's a week and a half. I've just been doing design stuff off of that, which I think is a good way to work through a book like that. But anyway, that's what I've got to say about design. I hope that was in some way interesting, because I know I rambled, but it was an excited, happy ramble. And I feel like I've really started to crack what it is that I love about game design. And I'm starting to see what I am going to become as a designer or developer. Because there's been this hint lately where I go, ooh, wait, hold on. We're finally finding it. We're getting a little less sidetracked with the whole like success thing, or the whole like being good at something thing. That's the real one, being good at it. I'm really trying to let go of trying to be good at something. I don't think that makes you good at something. And I'm excited because I think we're starting to get there. Well, that was an unexpected turn of events for me. I did not expect this episode to go that off the rails, but apparently I'm more excited about where I'm at with game design than I realized. This little bit of progress has really lit a fire under me, and I'm excited to spend more time with it. It's a little tricky sometimes for me because I get in my own head and I have difficulty just enjoying things for what they are. I get very hyperfixated on my own thoughts. And when I can just focus on the design itself, when I can just focus on playing a musical instrument, when I can just focus on drawing, it is extremely enjoyable for me. When I can do the hobby because I love the hobby, not because of some weird mental thing, it's really nice. And that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? So, let's leave you with a question for the week, just something to think on. Here's one. This might be a little bit too deep cut, but I'm going to give it a swing. You don't have to answer this one publicly. It can just be for yourself. What is a memory that you have of a sort of eye-opening moment of perception? I know that's tricky the way I phrased it. I'll give you an example. The first time that I got glasses was literally an eye-opening moment of perception. I didn't realize trees looked the way they look. I didn't realize there were words on billboards. I was like, why are there billboards? Nobody can read that. And then I got glasses and I went, oh. So it was kind of a mixed bag for me on that. But a moment where you left your mind and focused on the world outside and saw something in a way that you had never seen it before. I had this earlier this week, noticing the different colors of tree leaves. I've had this before when hiking. My mind will be running everywhere on my way up the mountain. I'm in Virginia, so they're really more hills than mountains. They're not like snow-capped or anything, but they're quite nice. On the way up the hike, I would be completely in my head, and then on the way back, there would just be this total silence in my head, and I would just be observing everything around me. I would just notice in kind of a passive way, but it's nice. It's comfortable. I've had this moment in a hammock after a hike. So that's the question. What is a moment that has pulled you out of your head into reality and had you notice something in a way that you hadn't seen it before? And if you can't think of one, go make one, because it's completely possible to just do that. You just have to gently shift your focus towards something that's a little bit interesting to you visually or through sound or whatever else. That is everything that I have for you this week. Yeah. Until next time, get out there, make some stuff. And by the way, that doesn't mean you have to program. You can just do a little design. That's been helping me a lot. Pulling back from the whole project and just doing a part of it. Get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.